nothing wrong with Walmart. I just didn't see myself working there and for the rest of my life. So I stepped out there. I'm like, man, what is there to offer? Like, I don't see me stocking the shelves every single day.
Right.
There has to be more.
Right.
And so I ended up speaking to a Marine Corps recruiter that looked like me, that was the same skin complexion. And when I talked to him, he was like, man, so what do you want? Of course, they laid out the 7 things. I think it was 7 things. What do you want? And I picked travel. I'm like, because I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. I ain't never been nowhere. You know what I mean? So I'm picking travel. In reality, I was picking just to leave and see something different.
Right.
And so I was able to leave and see something different. But when I got to the training, and they put us in the vans and the buses, and they say put your head down, and then as you put your head down, you go to drive.
Yeah.
They're driving there. You're scared. I was scared. Like I didn't know what to expect. And I was in the front seat right beside the drill instructor. So they said, put your head down. They drive, they doing all the turns. And then once they stop, they said, get out my van, get out my choice, get out my bus, get out. And we line up on right there. And I paint this picture because you already know the picture. When I look down, they said, get on my yellow footprints. I'm like, yellow footprints? What is this supposed to do? This is the start of your training.
That's right. Right.
When you start really storytelling everything, you start helping people remember
The
what
process.
they did. Absolutely.
Right.
The reality that they're escaping, you just remember everything I just described. Because it's storytelling. Just like with ministry, you have to paint that picture.
You got to be able to tell the story, dog. You got to be able to tell the story from the beginning to the end. That's really what it is.
Absolutely.
I was talking to someone this morning, and we was talking about Noah's Ark. And I said, bro, let's just bring the human element in it. Because I was talking about how kids, when they're young, they don't like to follow instructions. And I was telling him, I said, you ever thought why it took, I think Noah's Ark, it took like 100 years to build the ark. I said, you want to know why it took 100 years? He said, why? I said, because we don't follow instructions. I said, when God tells you to do something, you have to follow it to a T. I said, what the Bible doesn't say, and I said, I'm not adding anything to scripture, but just look at it from a human point of view. You don't know how many times he messed up and God said, you did it wrong.
Now tell that same story in baseball terminology.
That's right. It takes a minute from just to be an accomplished hitter. And the earlier you start, the better you are at a certain point. So if a kid gets a late start, matter of fact, the other day we was at baseball training, and the kids that I've been coaching for the last 2 years, most of them are 11 and 12. So we put them with kids who were 14 and 15. The ones who was 14 and 15, when I said get to your low spot, they didn't know what that meant. But the kids that I've been coaching, they knew what it meant. And they was getting to the low spot. They was getting to the low spot. And they were better professional style hitters than the ones who were not. And that's just like walking with Christ. You know what I'm saying? He said, remember the Creator in the days of your youth. The younger you get started, the easier it is for you to grasp what living for God is all about. And it's the same thing with baseball. The earlier you get them to start, the greater the IQ. They have a higher baseball IQ. It's the same thing with joining ROTC. I wasn't in ROTC. So when I went to the service, the only things I knew about the service was my uncle was in the Army. My dad was a Vietnam vet. But I never had no aspirations of going into the service, but I always knew it was there if I had to do it. And I was tough enough to go through the rigors. But when I got there, I was shocked because I didn't know, for example, you're gonna be outside all day marching around. I thought you could just get away, come on, go to the restroom at your leisure. Then you go back. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know you covered in a line the whole time. I didn't know you only get an hour at night to get yourself together for the next day and getting your weapon clean. I didn't know any of that. I thought maybe, you just with your group, and yeah, you're going through training, but you're sitting over here at lunch, and you get to eat your lunch at your own. I didn't know to get to this point, that you have to go through so much to become a Marine. But it's the same thing when it comes to everything else. We don't know what it takes to be a banker, to be a podcast expert. You know, you just think you're looking at the finished product. Everything we see is the finished product. We're looking at the guy, you know, I tell the kids, you're looking at the guys all on TV playing baseball, and it just seems like, man, I can do that. No, you can't. It's a process. Everything is a process. And if you don't go through the process, it's a wrap, because you're not going to have the ability. You're not going to have the skill set. A lot of people have the talent, but they don't have the skills. You know, like you're telling me things that I didn't know. You know, I know it. You know, I've heard it in college, but as far as like doing it in a podcast sense, you know, how you're saying, how you have to visualize, you have to tell a story, you have to stick to one topic. That's what the topic is that day. I didn't know any of that, because you're giving me the skill. I have the talent, I got the face, I got the charisma. That's a given. But a lot of people don't have the skill or the tools in the box to bring it all out in the public.